The theory which I will be discussing today is cognitive dissonance theory. This theory was first conceptualized by Leon Festinger in 1957. Throughout his career as a social psychologist, Leon Festinger was continuously interested by the behaviorist approach. In his book, A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance, Leon Festinger published the works of his research and findings to help explain how cognitive dissonance plays a role in our social relationships. As an academic, Leon Festinger worked at several prominent institutions like MIT and Stanford as an assistant professor. From our textbook, we can see that cognitive dissonance is defined as an aversive drive that causes people to avoid opposing viewpoints, seek reassurance, and change private beliefs to match public behavior when there's minimal justification for an action. This could simply be put that it's a theoretical explanation for actions taken when disparate attitudes or behaviors are simultaneously held. It's very difficult for people to hold opposing beliefs or commit opposing actions and manage those feelings appropriately. In Festinger's original research, he primarily studied smoking and the disparate beliefs that people held about smoking. As we all know, several PSAs addressing the dangers of smoking have long been prominent in our society, so people were aware that smoking was dangerous to their health. However, they continued to smoke. Even prominent officials like President Obama continued with this negative behavior. So, why did they continue doing this? Did they change their behavior? And why were these PSAs so effective? What did they draw upon in human behavior that allowed them to make an impact? So the basics of cognitive dissonance theories is that people cannot hold two or more opposing beliefs or act in two or more disparate ways. We experience dissonance as a distressing mental state caused by this inconsistency. When we have an inconsistency, dissonance is created. In order to change this dissonance, there has to be an attitude change, and then this dissonance will be reduced. The reduction of dissonance is a powerful drive. There are three main dissonance hypotheses. The first of these is selective exposure. Selective exposure is the tendency of people to avoid information that would cause them to have an inconsistency between their action and belief, thus raising their dissonance level. We can see an everyday example of this in people who avoid watching certain news programs because they know that the reporters will say things that do not align with their views. The second dissonance hypothesis is post-decision dissonance. Post-decision dissonance can be heightened the more important the issue is, the longer an individual delays in choosing between two equally attractive options, and the greater the difficulty involved in reversing the decision once it's made. Post-decision dissonance occurs in everyday life when people make large purchases and then immediately regret them. Post-decision dissonance can also be seen in places like the Supreme Court, where, with little precedence, a person must make a close call to determine which action is constitutionally correct. This dissonance has to have them change their belief about one aspect of the Constitution or change their action and to vote against a particular decision. The third hypothesis is minimal justification. Normally, we would believe that a change in attitude would lead to a change in behavior. This completely throws it off and says that a change in behavior can lead to a change in attitude. For example, if I don't like swimming and my attitude towards swimming is negative, then I'll never get to that behavior. However, if for some reason I'm induced to continue on in swimming and participate in that behavior, my attitude might change as I'm exposed to more positive experiences at the pool. While Festinger's research was conducted in 1957, further research into how cognitive dissonance can affect our social relationships has been conducted since then. One relationship and social phenomenon that has been explored is infidelity in romantic relationships. On the person who has committed the unloyal act, issues of self-concept will arise. They will simultaneously believe that cheating is wrong and that bad people cheat, but that they themselves have cheated and are not bad people. In order to resolve this dissonance, they could change their thinking, change their behavior, or change their concept of the behavior. In changing their thinking, they could believe that cheating is wrong, but maybe not necessarily for them, or that not only bad people cheat, sometimes good people can cheat. So the phrase, sometimes good people do bad things, is very applicable here. In changing their behavior, the person would experience an immediate reduction in dissonance, but not a total dissonance reduction because they might still be labeled as a cheater by their partner who holds the disparate beliefs for them. They could change their concept of the behavior and say that what they did could not actually qualify as cheating, thus they didn't actually cheat, or they could change their concept of monogamy, saying that cheating doesn't actually exist if it isn't perceived that way. In all of these ways, we can see people move through the stages of A, holding to dissonant beliefs, B, acknowledging the dissonance that was created, C, changing an attitude or behavior, and then D, moving towards the reduction of dissonance. In total, cognitive dissonance theory does apply to our lives and can be seen across a wide spectrum of social situations. These are my citations, and thank you for your time.